Whataboutery, it is the 9th of November 2025, and we'll start across the water. We'll start across a big Atlantic Ocean, where the Republicans took a kicking in the most recent round of elections. I have to say across the ocean, because if I say Republicans here, they're going to really think, well, so it's not them Republicans, it's the Republicans across in America. They took a kicking at the local elections, with the biggest story, of course, revolving around the election of a new Lord Mayor. I think it's just Mayor, don't Lord. New Mayor of New York. Zohran Mamdani. Zohran Mamdani. Now, Mamdani was polling at only 1% only a year ago, but due to a brilliant social media campaign, he managed what seemed the impossible, and he won. He won. So this is how he characterized himself after his win.
The conventional wisdom would tell you that I am far from the perfect candidate. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this.
Mamdani was also a very vocal opponent of Trump, especially the president's immigration policy, which sees people kidnapped, basically, off the streets across the USA by immigration and customs enforcement, or as they have infamously become known, ICE agents. They always cover their faces, cowardly bastards, you know what I mean? They cover their faces because what they're doing is diabolical. But hopefully they will be revealed in their true colours. Anyway, now Mamdani had this to say to the president after his win.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
Turn up the volume. Good boy yourself. Now, the Donald was less than amused, and he was quick out of the traps to claim that the new mayor was in fact a communist, proving like most other Americans, the president is politically illiterate. Now, you people, I'm not going to insult your intelligence by pointing out the difference between communism and socialism. Suffice to say, anyone who dares to mention socialism in the US, such as things like free healthcare, they're immediately denounced as being communists. This is a society where you have to save up to pay your insurance premiums to get any sort of health care whatsoever. Here's the thing. He said, I love Americans would work us out. The AIPAC, which of course I've talked about before, which is the lobbying group, pro-Israeli lobbying group, which has managed to buy pretty much the whole Congress and the Senate and the president, by the way, I'd suspect. Well, they've been pushing for years for more and more and more funding for Israel, which they've got. Millions upon millions of dollars have flowed from the USA into Israel and the Israeli economy to such an extent that there is free healthcare in Israel. Every citizen gets free healthcare. The Americans are that dense, they're paying for Israelis to get healthcare that they themselves cannot afford. Here's the truth, people. America is a society where democracy has morphed into government of billionaires, by billionaires and for billionaires. And Mamdani is both a breath of fresh air and an obvious threat to those billionaires. This was proved when over 26 of them, 26 billionaires poured $40 million into an anti-Mamdani campaign. Thankfully, their attempt to subvert democracy failed dismally.
A 34-year-old Democratic socialist just became New York City's next mayor. When Mamdani takes office on January 1st, he will become the highest-ranking elected Muslim official in America. But not before some of America's wealthiest people spent over $40 million trying to stop him. Zohran Mamdani defeated former Governor Andrew Cuomo on November 4th, 2025. The Associated Press called the race less than an hour after polls closed. Mamdani secured 50% of the vote, with Cuomo at 42% and Republican Curtis Sliwa at just 7%. The massive spending against Mamdani may have actually helped him win. His campaign turned the billionaire opposition into a rallying cry, framing the race as working people versus the ultra-wealthy. So, who were these billionaires? Former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg led the pack, donating $9.8 million to anti-Mamdani super PACs. He gave $8.3 million before the primary and kept writing checks through October. Hedge fund manager Bill Ackman contributed $1.75 million total. He publicly called for Republican Curtis Sliwa to drop out, arguing a vote for Sliwa was a vote for Mamdani. Ackman even offered to build a gold statue of Sliwa in Times Square if he'd quit the race. The Lauder family, heirs to the Estee Lauder Cosmetics fortune, donated over $2.6 million. Ronald Lauder gave $1 million, while his nephew William contributed another $1 million. Joe Carroll Lauder added $500,000. Airbnb co-founder Joe Gebbia donated $3 million to multiple anti-Mamdani groups. Casino mogul Steve Wynn sent $500,000 from Las Vegas. Even Alice Walton, the world's richest woman, contributed $200,000 from Arkansas. Other major donors included Barry Diller with $500,000, Daniel Loeb with $775,000, and the Tisch family with $1.2 million. At least 26 billionaires poured more than $40 million into efforts to block Mamdani's rise. They funded super PACs with names like Fix the City, Defend NYC, and Anyone But Mamdani. These groups spent millions on attack ads calling Mamdani a communist and warning he'd drive businesses out of New York. But Mamdani embraced the fight. At an October rally, he told supporters, "Billionaires like Bill Ackman and Ronald Lauder have poured millions into this race because they say we pose an existential threat." They are right. His platform included rent freezes, free buses, free childcare, and government-run grocery stores. He proposed paying for it with a 2% tax on New Yorkers earning over $1 million annually. He's also said publicly that billionaires shouldn't exist. The billionaire opposition actually energized Mamdani's base. Young voters backed him by 43 points over Cuomo. Even President Trump jumped in, endorsing Cuomo the night before the election and threatening to withhold federal funds if Mamdani won. That endorsement may have backfired too, motivating some voters to support Mamdani. But here's the thing: 2 billionaires stood by him. According to Forbes, Elizabeth Simons and Tom Preston Werner donated to groups supporting him. Simons, the daughter of the late hedge fund billionaire Jim Simons, contributed $250,000 in August to New Yorkers for Lower Costs, the main independent group backing Mamdani's campaign. Preston Werner, co-founder of the GitHub coding platform and a California-based venture capitalist, donated $20,000 to the same group in April. After his victory, Bill Ackman posted congratulations on social media, offering to help the new mayor. The billionaire class that spent millions to stop Mamdani now faces a mayor who's promised to hold them accountable. Mamdani will become New York's first Muslim mayor, its first of South Asian heritage, and its youngest in over a century when he takes office in January. His victory is being watched nationally as a test of progressive politics in America's largest city. For more news...
The threat by Trump to deny New York funding is a bit of a lame one when you consider that New York contributes more to the federal government than the federal government gives to New York. Some in the Mamdani camp have now suggested that he hold some of that money back. I don't think that's going to happen. No, nor do I believe that Mamdani is the new Obama. Because politics in the US swings, like everywhere else in the world, swings from right to left. And eventually, it'll pivot again towards equilibrium. I hope so anyway. And in that case, Democrats will probably find a middle-of-the-road, middle-class candidate to run for president in 2028, probably against Trump. It wouldn't surprise me. Staying in the White House, the world's biggest orange man showed his true colours when someone had the audacity to faint in his presence. Now have a look at the care and compassion exhibited by the Donald under these trying circumstances.
Chris, it's truly an honor to be here today for this historic step forward to expand access to a class of medications that can fundamentally change the arc of chronic disease in our country. Of course, these are the incretin or GLP-1 agonist that we've been speaking about. For nearly 150 years, my company, Eli Lilly, has been investing in America. We've been advancing science and creating high-value jobs. But today, we... Oh, are you okay? Gordon, you okay? Yeah. Take a break.
Well, thank you very much. One of the representatives of the companies, and one of the companies got a little bit lightheaded. You saw he went down, and he's fine. They just sent him out. He's got doctor's care, but he's fine. So we had a little bit of an interruption. Sorry for that. And I think we can just begin again with Eli.
But he wasn't worried about the poor bastard who just fell down. Could have had a heart attack, could be dying. No, what annoyed the Donald was that anyone interrupt him, and that for a millisecond he was no longer the centre of attention. As for his health secretary, Kennedy, he took to his heels. Kennedy took to his heels.
Jobs. But today we... Oh, are you okay? Gordon, you okay? Yeah.
Now, that's the sort of health secretary you'd expect under Donald Trump. Somebody who's terrified of ill health. We can compare and contrast the Donald's total narcissistic, almost psychopathic lack of concern for another human being who'd taken ill. Well, we can actually compare and contrast, because something similar happened during the Obama presidency. When Obama was making a speech, a woman behind him fainted. Now, have a look at how he acted.
To lift from the American people the crushing burden of unaffordable health care. To free families from the pervasive fear that one illness... There you go, you okay. I'm right here. I got you. Yeah. No, you're okay. This happens when I talk too long. You'll be okay. Here, why don't you go? You got it? Yeah. Come on. Good catch, by the way, whoever was here.
That's not just the way a president should act. That's how a normal human being would react in such a circumstance. Unlike the Donald, who's half lizard. Reaction to the free trip to Israel. No, the freebie that our Education Minister Paul Givan and his little gaggle of the unwashed took to Israel for a week of sunshine and adoration. Well, the reactions to that continues to cause problems up in the White Elephant, not the White House, the White Elephant, which we call the Northern Ireland Assembly. Tomorrow, Monday, sees a confidence vote given brought by Gerry Kelly. Of course, this will not pass, as it doesn't have cross-community support because the Ulster Unionist Party did not have the balls to stand up and be counted. It'll no doubt allow Given another opportunity to engage in whataboutery, politics, pointing out that while, yes, I may be a shite, but there's bigger shites across that. This is what it is. This is what passes for politics in our dysfunctional little statelet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I note the member and vice chairman of the Education Committee didn't ask a question around the department. Not one question. I'm here to be held to account as Education Minister for the element of that trip that related to my portfolio as Education Minister. Not here to be held to account by a convicted terrorist who supports terrorists and Hamas. You're not going to hold me to account for that. I'll hold you to account for your terrorism. What did Mr. Sheehan do in his past? Well, he also has met with Hamas himself, pictured with Khalid Michel. And what did Khalid Michel say in respect of the 7th of October and the concern for Palestinian lives? This is what Hamas said, who Pat Sheehan's photographed with. Palestinians' lives that are lost are a necessary sacrifice. So don't give me the crocodile tears when you're pictured with and supporting Hamas terrorists. And Sinn Féin need to get the message, and get the message very clearly. It is the unionist people of Northern Ireland who elect my party and put me into this position. I'll never be dictated to by Sinn Féin, particularly the likes of Pat Sheehan.
Like another example of such dysfunction was the decision of Emma Little Pengelly and the DUP to not attend the inauguration of the new Irish President, Catherine Connolly. Now, few will doubt that this decision was strongly influenced by Jim Allister, who just before the DUP came out and made their statement, he said that no unionist should attend the ceremony. See, in future, it might be worthwhile for the DUP to check with Jim what their position is going to be on anything, just so that they'll give them a heads up as to what they should do. Isn't it strange? Like Starmer in the UK is being dragged to the right by Farage, and it looks like Jim Allister is doing the same to the DUP. I'd have more respect. No, to be honest with you, I would have had more respect for Emma if she had had the courage to come out and say, no, I am not going. And they can stick their inauguration up their Fenian holes. That would be fair enough. I would take it. Like Eileen Paisley didn't hold behind the back. He just said, you can stick your Fenian shit up. And you had to sit and go, fair play to you, big man, fair play to you. Don't agree with you, but fair play to you. You got your, no, the man saying what he thinks. At least I would have been honest, rather than all this bullshit about not being able to attend because of other commitments. Now, admittedly, I doubt that anyone in the Republic will even notice the absence of the DUP at the inauguration, nor will they probably bother to comment, deciding instead to let us Nordies alone as we continue to self-harm politically. Now, the proof of this was the utter farce around the nurses' pay rise, right? There was 100 million they said they'd got, and they need another 100 million, and the nurses says, we don't get it. The nurses aren't even looking for a pay rise. They're looking for pay parity. They're just looking to keep up with every other nurse in the UK. This is still supposed to be part of the UK, isn't it? That's part of the argument we have. Well, surely then nurses and other public servants should expect to get the same level of pay. So nurses were trying just to keep up. And the assembly was all over the place. They didn't know what they were doing. They have finally, at the very last second, somebody went down the back of the sofa, right, in the assembly and found the other 100 million, although there's still doubt as to where exactly the money's going to come from. So with the nurses' strike narrowly avoided, we now face strike action from the PSNI. You know what I think, people? Know what I seriously think? I think that we are on the horizon. I see another collapse of the Northern Irish Assembly. Well, admittedly, our MLAs have been at work for nearly a year, or is it over a year? They're no doubt exhausted and need another 5, 6, or 7 year paid holiday. I mean, you cannot expect that lot up there to actually govern. No, that's for adults to do. Adults do that. Look, they're much too busy calling each other names and having votes which will achieve nothing, and calling each other names and having votes which will achieve nothing, and arguing about flags, language, flag, language, flags, language. You get my point? Do you get my point? Swear to God, it's better for us if the adults take over. Let the politicians in the UK and down south make the decisions. Because the children up here just can't do it. And they keep on proving they can't do it. Language, flags, language, flags. I bet Gerry Kelly was looking at the TV with envy over the week at the state of the UK prison service. Probably Jerry's sitting there thinking, I wish they'd put me in jail over there. That'd probably let me out rather than me needing to escape. Less than a week after having released Ethiopian asylum seeker Hadush Kebatu, whose sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl and a woman sparked riots over the summer, 2 more prisoners were mistakenly let out during the week. Brahim Kadur Sharif, and another man convicted of he was suspected of a sex offence, and the guy called William Smith, I think it was, he had been convicted of fraud. They were mistakenly released. Like old William Smith, it was on the day he got convicted and told he was going to have to do 4 years or something. They brought him to the prison, took him down the hall. On you go, son, on you go. No, you're free. Oh, no, I think it says here you're free. It says in my notes, on you go, son, you're all right, take care. All the best. Don't be coming back now. Where else would they get it? And while Sharif was arrested in North London, Smith eventually handed himself in. He got so bored, he just...
A last hug as an accidentally free man. William Billy Smith had been the subject of a major manhunt. This morning, he turned up at Wandsworth Prison. Not caught by the police, not in handcuffs. He simply walked in. All caught on camera exclusively by ITV News. It's not often someone asks a prison officer for advice on how to get put back inside. This was where he was released in error on Monday, the exact same day he'd been sentenced to 45 months for fraud. With a quick final wave to his partner, he went inside. Smith...
David Lammy, standing in for Keir Starmer at Westminster Questions, he refused point blank to answer on 5 separate occasions when asked by the Tories if anyone else had been mistakenly released.
Can he reassure the House that since Kibatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? It's a very specific question for him to answer.
Deputy Prime Minister.
After his release, I put in place the toughest checks we've ever had in the prison system.
Mr. Speaker, he's the Justice Secretary. He's responsible for the justice system. He needs to take responsibility, and I'm asking him a straight question. And I'm going to repeat it once more for the avoidance of doubt, because he didn't answer it twice. He's here to answer questions. Can he reassure the House that since Kibatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? It's a clear question. Can he give an answer?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Get a grip, man. I know I'm the Justice Secretary. That's why I'm at the dispatch box, also as Deputy Prime Minister. We know that. I'm not going to pray in aid. Dame Anne Owens is a former Deputy Commissioner in London.
And see, at the end of the day, the best this Labour government can come up with was to acknowledge that such is the state of the prison service. It'll probably take some time before mistaken prisoners release. Stop. Fills you full of confidence, doesn't it? That fills you full of confidence. Every teenage boy's hero, every gamer stuck in their bedroom dreaming of being a superhero's hero over the last 10 or so years was the misogynist bullshit artist called Andrew Tate, who posed himself as the embodiment of masculinity. Now, in reality, of course, Tate was nothing more and is nothing more than a pimp who forced women into online chat rooms, taking most of their money. His one achievement, and you can't knock it, is he was a kickboxing champion. That cannot be denied. But there's nothing as sad as an old fighter trying to come back, as Tate learned recently.
Good shot there from Ibrahim as Tate tries to walk in.
Oh, I think he's hurt his jaw.
No, you can't stop.
Oh, he's going to get carried. I think he's broke his jaw, do you think? Wow.
Could go in the first round here. And he's done it in the first round.
No.
Breaking Tate. I think he's broke his orbital bone.
I don't know if his orbit was broken or he just lost his balls. But this exhibition reminded me of a quote from the other world-renowned philosopher, Mike Tyson, who once memorably said, "Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face." Isn't that profound? Isn't that true? Oh, I've got the teeth to prove it. Oh, I know what he's talking about. I know. As has happened over all the years I have been online, the slurry pit, which is the internet, threw up its bile and effluent And some of the comments they were a level of bile I have not had over the years. Now, of course, what my advice to you all to do is never respond. Never respond. They are not worthy of any response. That's what these wankers want. They're desperately in need of attention. So what I do, I used to block. I thousands block. But now I mute. I love mute. Mute's brilliant because it's like blocking, only they don't know they're blocked. So they're probably still sending me messages. I'm not saying anything. What I try to explain to people is this is the new phenomena of the internet, where people you've never met, you'll never meet, you'll never know, feel they have a right to basically call you very, very nasty names and on occasions threaten you. I've had that too, the threats. Strangely enough, I've never had anybody come up to me in person to threaten me. I keep waiting for it. I dream about it. Try to control yourself, Jake. Try to control yourself. So what I say to people is, what you do, my advice is treat it like as if you were walking through town. Imagine you're walking through town and there's some lunatic on the corner of the street starts shouting at you. He starts shouting abuse at you. Would you go over and engage that person in a conversation? I think not. You would go, not right, and walk on. Same thing online. These people do not deserve to be responded to. They deserve to be pitied. Because invariably, I have this image of some 33-year-old man-child sitting in his childhood bedroom, still in the family home, with a big gaming setup, sitting there in his wave fronts, thinking he's a master of the universe. He's achieved nothing. He's done nothing. He'll never achieve anything. He just does that. You understand? He does that. And you see, if he was to come up to me and do that, he'd probably stop doing that. He probably would stop doing that. But still, that's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. I'm not Andrew Tate. I'm too old for that shit. But my advice is just ignore them. Just ignore them and move on. Because you see, as soon as I scroll like that, they're gone. I never think of it again. It's amazing. It's as if it never happened.
You'll do nothing. You hear me? You'll do nothing.